Welcome back to my 3D anime character series. Last time I showed how to construct the base body using the core loop method. This time I'll be showing how I apply the same method to constructing the hand. I will also show what I believe to be the best typology for finger joints so that they deform and flex correctly. So without any more delays, let's get into it. I've set up a reference image for the top view, however I won't be following this image exactly, so it's more here as a rough guide to get the initial scale and shape. I'll be specifically modelling a female hand, so I have a pure ref board with a bunch of reference images. I've focused on finding slim feminine hands with natural long fingernails. However, throughout the process I will also use my own hand as a real life point of reference. As for the pose, I won't be following the guide I have set up. Instead, the thumb will be pointing downward. This is so I can effectively mark the crease between the thumb and palm, but there's no reason why you can't model it in a similar pose to this reference image. First of all, I create a cylinder from the add menu with 16 faces. The wrist of my body is currently 8 faces, but with the subdivision modifier applied, it will be doubled to 16. So the plan is to set this up in a way that makes the joining process as painless as possible. This loop is placed after the carpal boss, which is the lumpy bone on the wrist. I mark it with a yellow material so that I can keep track of it, and next I will adjust the shape of it, making it less oval and closer to the correct shape. The fingers are also cylinders but are 12 faces. I'll be placing the middle finger straight, ignoring the angle of the reference image. This is so I have an easier time constructing it later. This quad is to start the geometry of the knuckle. I'll subdivide it into 4 faces and mark it in red. Around this shape, I will extrude out and create a blue loop around it. To easily create these faces, you can just select the corner vertices and hit the F key. I then bridge these into the finger loop by selecting both edges and once again hitting the F key. I won't be shaping this much yet, instead I will duplicate it for each of the fingers. I rotate and scale these appropriately as they're not required to be straight. The next part is a little complicated as it will be defining the position of the thumb and the underside of the knuckles. First I will extrude out the wrist loop. Next I will mark these 4 quads as red and delete the adjacent grey ones, so I can reroute this loop to outline the base of the thumb. From this face on the index finger, I will extrude out another loop that I'll mark in blue. This will arc all the way around into the pinky. The biggest challenge with this method is ensuring you have enough faces to fill out the spaces later. The outer edges of this blue loop, for example, will have 4 faces so they can bridge into the knuckles, as well as the correct amount along the bottom to bridge into the wrist. The red loop will tangentially connect with the blue loop here. This will be used to create the webbing for the thumb. Once complete, the red loop is 18 faces. The number either side of this connection into the blue loop is important in ensuring the filling out process goes smoothly. You will see that this corner face here is set up differently to the other side. By the end this loop will be 14 faces, however the number of edges on the inside will only be 13. This is due to how the geometry is here. I'll be stepping down a lot of the typology within this area, so this will make more sense later. Lastly is to add another loop of 12 faces for the narrow part of the thumb. Now that all the core loops are set up, it's time to start filling out the shape. I start by bridging the fingers to create their webbing. Between the index and middle fingers, I place 4 faces. I add another loop cut here on the knuckles so I can connect the outer faces into it. This leaves 2 faces that will run down between the knuckles. The gap between the middle and ring finger is the narrowest, so here I'll only create 3 faces. By filling it out in a similar fashion to the previous one, it will result in a single face separating the knuckles. The largest space between the pinky and ring finger is set up like the first, with 4 faces. Next is to bridge the knuckle area into the wrist. Here we'll be creating lines that follow the tendons, creating 4 triangulated quads to step down the geometry from 16 into 8. For now I'll leave them as 2 triangles and dissolve their dividing lines later, returning them back to quads. I've marked these lines with red, but you will notice the first finger is offset compared to the others. I had to do it this way because of the position of the thumb loop. Next I need to bridge the back of the hand into the base of the thumb, so one by one I'll add loop cuts and connect them. With this area filled out, I can move on to filling out the side of the finger, bridging the top into the underside of the knuckle. This area is a little complicated, but generally I will loop around the shape of the fingers first. Eventually I'll have to step down the typology, so I'll let it play out and highlight the key shapes at the end. These 2 red V shapes are where I've stepped down the geometry. Don't worry that the area looks a little rough, I'll come back and neaten it up with the smooth tool later. Now it's time to fill out the rest of the palm. This is fairly straightforward, the only thing of note is this weird shaped quad I've created here. It'll be straightened out once I get to shaping the hand in general, so don't worry that it's overly deformed at the moment. Next is to bridge the base of the thumb into this yellow loop. I need to reduce 18 edges down to 12, so it will require 3 triangulated quads, which I will place within the corners of the red loop. This quad I make here is incorrect. All I needed to do was bridge with 2 quads. I'll come back and fix it later, because leaving it the way it is makes it harder to make loop cuts and add detail to this area. This concludes setting up the typology for the hand. Later I'll come back and shape it better, but next is to move on to constructing the fingers. By keeping the middle finger loop straight, I can extrude out a few times to mark the knuckles. By selecting a newly made geometry and hitting the P key, I separate the finger into a new selection. This is so I can set up the mirror modifier to construct it easier. While in edit mode, I select these verts so the selection is centered. Then I hit Shift S and select cursor to selected, moving the 3D cursor to it. Now in object mode, I hit F3 and search for origin to 3D cursor. This sets the object's origin to the 3D cursor so the mirror can work correctly. I rotate the final loop to get a better shape for the tip of the finger, and then fill out the faces so I can get a good amount of volume to shape it appropriately. Next is the fingernail. I'll start by inserting faces by hitting the I key and fixing up the center, as I do not want the central face. I should have actually inserted or extruded again here, as I need to construct the nail bed as well, so later you'll see I'll have to rework this a little. Reposition the edges so I can extrude out the end of the nail. So here I am separating the nail by selecting and hitting the Y key, so that I can create the nail bed and reconnect it later. As I stated earlier, you can just insert or extrude the area out twice to avoid this headache. Here I am inserting some faces to create some knuckle typology. Again, I eliminate the central face like I did with the fingernail. To my knowledge, this is the best way to set up typology for knuckles, as it allows them to deform a specific way when animating. I'll probably create some examples of different setups and show how this performs to others. This pretty much concludes the basic shape of the finger. However, I won't connect it to the hand just yet, as it requires some additional polish. Instead, in object mode, I will duplicate with Shift D and check linked at the bottom corner. This means when I edit the middle finger later, all the other fingers will reflect these changes. This still allows me to transform the fingers in object mode appropriately, while retaining their editability. Once they're all in position, I spend a little time snapping the verts of the hand to the fingers, just so I can get a better idea how it all looks. For the thumb, I'm basically going to copy the tip of the finger and position it and reshape it later. For this knuckle on the thumb, I copy the shape of the ones I did on the back of the hand, and I'll colour it in a similar fashion. I'm now fixing that face I mentioned earlier by just collapsing the two verts in and merging them. I'm about to connect the thumb into the hand. To do this, I am applying the mirror modifier first, then I join them in object mode by selecting them both and hitting Ctrl J. From here I'll be mostly shaping the hand through sculpting, so I'll just let the footage play out. Every now and again I will cut quads with a knife tool and then dissolve the newly created edge. This is because sometimes the tries of the quad are misaligned, causing some ugly geometry. Now I'm creating the carpal boss. The shape I make here actually eliminates a couple of faces for the next wrist loop, but on the underside I insert some faces to create the tendon, returning it back to the required 16 faces. position of this tendon is actually wrong. It should be one face over towards the thumb side. I did fix this after I stopped recording, so I'll show it later. This is the process of connecting the fingers. I'm basically duplicating each finger, applying the mirror modifier, and then joining them to the hand with Ctrl J, before merging their verts. I kept the original finger objects and hid them for now, in case I decided I wanted to rework them later on, and it was a good job I did, because I went back and made a lot of changes to them afterward. I'm marking certain edges with sharps so the fingernails stand out better. I'll be reworking the normals when I apply cell shader later, so the only reason I'm doing this is so I have a better idea how they look at the moment. This is the final result with the loops marked, but the fingernails are kinda too wide. This is why I ended up reworking the fingers more. I didn't record myself connecting it to the body, but I had to adjust the edges a lot to prevent twisting in the mesh. For the fingers, I made a lot of shape changes and narrowed the fingernails down. This is why it was pretty useful to keep the fingers separated. I will insert some footage here of the hand with a basic rig setup, so you can see how the typology works with the animation deformations. Here is a super basic rig I've assigned to the hand. It has a lot of problems, such as how this finger joint really could do with being set back further into the knuckle. I will be rigging this up properly later on, so I'm only really putting this here to demonstrate how the typology will work with the basic rig. The geometry of the finger still flexes in a little here. This is down to how the weight painting is currently set up. However, the skin does flex inwards slightly at these joints anyways. If you want to fix these areas, you can apply a subdivision like so, but because this is specifically for a game model, I don't really need them to be this high poly. I've also done a rough job rigging the thumb to show how it will deform into a flat position. This will deform weird in some movements, but that is mostly down to how basic the rig and the weight painting is at the moment. With some extra work, these issues can be solved. For example, the wrist here tends to cave in when tilting the hand up or down. The solution to this is to insert another bone at the joint with a driver so that it automatically creates a compromise between the two bones. But as previously mentioned, this is just to give the basic idea, so I hope this at least demonstrates it somewhat. And well, that pretty much concludes this part of the series. If you found this helpful, leave a like and a comment, as they really help me out. Next, I'll be working on feet, so if you don't want to miss that, make sure to subscribe. I'm aiming at a video a fortnight at the moment. Those who support me over on Patreon will get the videos the moment they are ready though. Considering you have made it this far, I think you may enjoy seeing me construct the base body with a similar method, so why don't you click on the video link here, and if you want to do none of that, would you kindly bugger off?
Maybe.